Well, a very warm welcome to the second edition of this new series of Subsbench. We're very glad that you've been able to join us on Facebook or YouTube, and I'm glad to say that once again Richard has worked out the technology, and by the marvels of FaceTime he joins me from his home. Richard, how's the week been for you?
Excellent, and not so good for you by the way the beard's going. You seem to be getting older by the day, but very, very impressive. Good bit of growth since last week.
It's coming on, isn't it? It's coming on really well. But enough of me. We're going to be talking on this programme, of course. We're going to hear from Joshua Watling and from Alan Walsh, so Rovers and City as ever. And towards the end of the show, Glenn Catley, because of course it's been a great week for him. 20th anniversary of Glenn Catley becoming Bristol's first ever world champion. Do you remember that time, Richard?
I do very well, and met Glenn several times with you, as well as on my own, and a great lad, really good bloke, and it was a wonderful time for Bristol, wasn't it? You don't get better than a first world champion, and it was a terrific performance by him. Always the underdog, I think he says in the interview that it was the underdog that day as well as we had been previously in his career, but always liked upsetting the favourites, and he did it in style, and it was a great celebration for us. It's a shame in a way that with the current lockdown and everything, we haven't been able to make a celebration of it.
Yeah.
20 years, Nigel. 20 years goes by so quickly.
Where's it gone?
When you get to your age.
Well, we're having a short clip of Glenn, because I spoke to him for the paper earlier on in the week. So a bit of Glenn coming up. Also, as I say, Alan Walsh. But before we get to Joshua Watling, just quickly to say, it does look like, as we talked about on the programme last week, that Leagues 1 and 2 are probably going to be abandoned as they are, and then they're going to work out who's promoted and relegated. So, in the end, inevitable news, we reckon, don't we?
Yeah, as I said last week, I thought that they'd be treated differently to the Premier League and Championship clubs purely for financial reasons. It doesn't make any sense to me for small clubs in League 2 and League 1 to be playing behind closed doors. They haven't got the finances to quarantine their players. All sorts of reasons why their season has to very unfortunately come to an end. What they're going to do about the promotion and relegation, of course, that's going to affect a lot of clubs, and there's going to be a lot of argument about that. I'm sure people aren't going to want to, who are ahead in the league, to be told that they can't get promoted. So that's going to take a bit of working out, but I think that's an inevitable decision that these seasons ended.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's move on to our interviews, and it seems quite appropriate, I think, with all the VE Day celebrations going on, that our guest this time is a former serviceman. And Joshua Watling, when he came on our TV programme, well, he astounded us with some of his stories, didn't he? Because we were thinking of him coming on to talk about football, but instead he talked about his time in the Navy, didn't he?
I think of all the interviews we did, that's the one that sticks out in my mind. I think Joshua was 92 possibly when we did the interview, and so sharp in his memory for not just for football, which was great. He could remember the team he was in, every member of them, but the wartime memories. And here we are on VE Day as we talk, or VE Day this weekend, and it's a topical subject. And his lucid memories, not just that, the stories he had to tell. Yeah. And we just sat there spellbound, didn't we?
So let's pick up the story then with Joshua Watling as he starts to tell us about how he came to be torpedoed by a U-boat.
So we're on this Russian convoy, and we're going up between Bear Island and Norway. We get attacked with U-boats. So all of a sudden, bang, our ship gets hit. And we was up on the bridge, a fellow from Liverpool, we was on watch. And he was a bit saucy to one of the officers, and he was being taken down to the room to be reprimanded in front of the captain. But on their way down, as this mine or torpedo hit us, so the wrench on the front of the ship, which puts up the anchor, came right over and squashed the Liverpudlian Matlow. Dead. Of course, we panicked, and we started trying to get the lifeboats out, and they was all anchored down to the deck. Of course, nobody undone them, we couldn't do it, So eventually, we never got sunk right away. So this ship come alongside and they say, everybody for themselves. So I get back to jump. And with that, the ship goes out and I'm hanging on to the rails. Now at sea, as you know, two ships comes together and they go out. So I'm hanging on to this rail and the ship is coming back again. I thought, oh my God, like, and with that I had to let go. And God was on my side and I landed back on our own ship again. Then I got further back and then took head of a jump and then I landed in safety.
And it was just
and
as
I
well,
thank
Joss,
the Lord.
It was just as well because you couldn't swim, you told.
I cannot swim, I cannot swim.
So, anyway.
Because if you play football for the Navy, you can get away with murder. You do no duties, nothing.
You didn't even have to swim. Well,
No.
so you survived, that was the main
survived,
thing.
yeah.
Take us to Bristol Rovers in 1946 when you first started playing. You were a left winger.
Yeah.
Tell us about the team then and what you were getting up to in those days.
When I joined Bristol Rovers, I was playing for Avonmouth St Andrews, and Fred Hyde was the scout for Bristol Rovers, and he happened to be there on one day, and probably I had a good game, so he suggested I go to the Rovers. So I said to my dad, I said, what do you think? He said, well, give it a go, which I did, amateur. I signed amateur in 1946. I was still erecting at Avonmouth then. And of course, as an amateur, you only train Tuesdays and Thursdays then. And of course, I had to go straight from work, nothing to eat, you know, and it was hard work, still erecting. So I thought, no, Harry Bamford, the late Harry Bamford, he was a part-timer, and he had a football on a string, and he used to go around lapping around the ground. Nobody else could touch this ball, mind. He wouldn't let you have a go with it, no. We never had a ball to kick. We had to get in a little circle and have a, what do they call these balls now, the heavy ones?
Medicine balls?
Medicine balls. Just trying to kick it, like, you know. So I thought, no, I'll turn this in, like, you know. So I turned it in. Then Fred Hyde, the scout who discovered me at Avonmouth, came up the house again, like, you know, and persuaded me to go back. So I goes in, Brock Fletcher was manager then. So I said, I'd right turns pro, right, you know. So he said, all right then, like, you know. So I signed on for the measly sum of £3 summer, £4 Western League and reserves, and £5 first team. But if you get sent off in them days, you never got paid, and you could never go near the ground.
Wow.
So one match, I think it was the Spurs reserves. I was in the reserves, and this fellow hit me up against the fence. And I thought, gosh, like, you know. And as I'm getting up, he's kicking me in the back, like, you know. So I hit someone, like, you know. And with that, I get sent off. So I'm watching this reserve team game one afternoon, and a fellow come up to me. I didn't know who he was, and he said, "You got to leave the ground, Joss." I said, "Well," he said, "you've been suspended for a week. No money, nothing." So to tell the story on that, I thought to myself, well, other players could get sent off, so we'll make a kitty. So we used to put 2 and 6 a week away out of our wages into a kitty.
Very clever.
So that we could pay the wages. So one day we were playing at Brighton and they scored a dubious goal. Now Bill Roos was centre forward and the referee blew the whistle to restart the game. But Bill, knowing it was a dubious goal, wouldn't start the game. So the referee kept blowing his whistle. I eventually got fed up, off. I thought, oh, there goes our kitty. You know, and it's getting near the end of the season, like where we used to share it out again. So I thought, what can I do? So I goes out to the ref, I said, "Ref," I said, "you're making a big mistake here." I said, "Think of what the papers is going to say tomorrow." He said, "What do you mean?" I said, "He's as deaf as a poker." "Is he?" I said, "Yeah." So he calls Bill back. And of course, Bill got act up now, like, you know, and every time anything happened, Bill's looking around to see what's happening. And that's how we saved the kitty, like, you know, and saved Bill from getting a sending off.
Just, is it right you made your debut against Bristol City?
Yes, and we got beat 4-1, 3-1, 4-1, something like that, like, you know, yeah.
You had some memorable derby matches against them, though, did you, other than that?
Yeah, I played against the City a lot, like, you know. I can remember once they used to have a right back called Stone, and we was playing this Bristol City on their pitch. And he clattered me from behind. Oh no, can he put me out? And Bert Williams, then our trainer, he was, you know, all for the club, which is fair enough. I had to come out, all strapped up, my arms strapped up, like, you know, and play like that, like, you know. Well, it was like playing like a dummy, it was, like, you know.
No
So,
substitutes in those
no
days.
substitutes, no, nothing like, and it was a waste of time, like, So, the funny thing about it, with Bert Tan, who was a beautiful coach of mine, he knew his football, and Fred Ford, they both played for Charlton, like, and we used to play at this practice match on a Tuesday. So whether we had a bad game the week before, I don't know, but we played one half without a ball. I thought, this is queer, what's going on? So everybody was scoring goals, even I was scoring goals, and I never used to score goals, like, So I thought, a bit of fun here. So I climbed the fence to go up into the stand. He said, hey, where are you going? I said, manager? I said, boy, just kick the ball out. Get back here, he said, like. No, at second half, he threw on 2 balls. It was, no kidding. We didn't know where we were coming or going, like, So it carried on like that, but we had a wonderful team.
Give us some names. Among them, Alfie Biggs was playing, and you named him the Baron. I'm told. Look at my
I called
notes.
him the Baron, yeah, because he started dressing a bit, and that, he had a few bob, like, We had Hoyle in goal. You had Bamford and Fox fullbacks. Warren centre half. You had Pitt right half. Sampson left half. You had Georgie Petherbridge over the Baron, outside right. Then you had Jeff Bradford inside, Vic Lambdon, Bruce Day, and myself.
Amazing.
All for one for all. Tanya's motto was, if you're on song and you know when you're playing well, and your mate is off song, help him out, because next week it might be in reverse, and that's how we used to do it, like, all for one for all.
The great Joshua Watling, and was some fantastic stories he had to tell. And Richard, we've had 1 or 2 comments about Joshua on Facebook. I have to put my glasses on to read this. Terrible. You said I was looking old. Philip Johns messaged in and said, I remember Joshua in an FA Cup 5th round match at Eastville on a really muddy outfield against Hull City, when grabbing hold of Raish Carter and throwing him over his shoulder into 6 inches of slime, to the delight of the Eastville crowd. What a day that was. A 3-0 win for the Gas, and my cousin, Don Reevy, amazingly, complaining about the state of the pitch afterwards. The big boys were even pampered in them days, he said.
That's a hell of a memory, isn't it? Some great names there.
Yeah, and Colin Crotty, which is also a pretty decent name as well, I have to say. He says, I drank with Jossa many times in Barton Hill. Haven't seen him for a couple of years. How is he, and where does he drink now? Well, I'm not absolutely sure. I think you did find out a bit about Jossa, didn't you, fairly recently? We hope Jossa's well, but he's in his 90s, and what a fantastic character.
Still coming to Rovers when last season, and so I saw him there a few times, just from a distance, and was fine. So fingers crossed he goes on forever, because he is a fantastic character.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's switch now to the City, and this is one of our favourite players, but also one of the favourite talking points whenever we have Alan Walsh as a guest on our programme, Richard. So pick up the story, if you will, of set the scene for us of this clip from when we spoke to Alan just a year or so ago.
Well, Alan, of course, was involved in the City team that played in the League Cup and got to the semi-finals in 1988-89, and they played Nottingham Forest. Everybody remembers. I had a wonderful cup run before that up to then. And Alan scored the winner in the quarter-final, but they came to play Nottingham Forest, Brian Clough's Nottingham Forest, over 2 legs. The first leg was a 1-1 draw at the City Ground, Nottingham, when City were given no chance as a 3rd Division side against the aristocrats of the 1st Division, and only an own goal by John Pender very near the end stopped them winning. Paul Marden scored in the second half, and City eventually held to a 1-1 draw. And that meant all the TV companies were suddenly interested in screening the replays, or the ones that did it then. So ITV, I think it was, screened the replay at Ashton on a horrible day, windy, rainy, everything you'd want to cause a cup upset, and City so nearly did. And it was Alan Walsh who nearly scored the winning goal. 0-0, 89 minutes, and his shot went very, very close, as he recalls now.
We did, yeah. It's the thickness of a post from going to Wembley, as people keep reminding me.
What Richard keeps reminding
Yeah,
me.
Richard keeps
I was
reminding me.
watching on
Blames
YouTube.
me,
I was
Richard.
watching on YouTube the other day.
Yeah.
You weren't that far out.
No. Facing the wrong way.
We'll talk about that in a minute. But there were some great games leading up to it. I remember home games against Tranmere and Crystal Palace, and we'll talk about the Bradford City away where you scored. But those home games were exciting nights, weren't they?
They were, yeah. I think the Tranmere game, Carl Schutt scored the goal on the night, which was, Tranmere was a really tight, close game, and fortunate for us, Carl got the goal. And then the next round we played Palace, and they had, I think they had Wright and Bright up front, I think, in them days. And they were really going well, and they came, and we actually sort of took them to pieces, really. I think on the night, Ralph Milne, God bless him, had a great night, and I think that got him the move to Manchester United. And we ended up winning that game 4-1, and then the quarter-final against Bradford. I remember we went up to Bradford the day before the game and stayed in Harrogate, and I always remember Jimmy Lumsden coming in, and I think obviously the draw. I think the draw had been made for the next round, and Bradford were going really well. I think they'd knocked a couple of First Division teams out at that stage. And Jimmy Lumsden came in just as we were having a pre-match meal, and he said, "Hey lads, the Bradford have booked the hotel for the semi-final." And like, I don't know, a bit of kidology, I think, like that. And we went out and sort of, I scored really early on. I think it was the first 10 minutes. Cross came in and sort of swung my left foot out, and it went in the bottom corner. But what I remember that night, it was like the Alamo. We sort of, after we scored, and a lot down to Keith Wolf, because he had an absolute blinder on the night. Everything there shot either went down Wolfie's throat, and he saved it, or blocks, and everything. We defended like Trojans that night, and then we eventually got the result in the end.
Joe Jordan was manager, and he was playing, wasn't he?
Joe Jordan was
manager. A dust up in their penalty.
Oh dear, Joe went through it. Doesn't it? Like, if it had been these days, you know, when Joe was, he just went sort of. I think it was a bit of a 50-50, maybe 60-40 for the keeper, and Joe went in and sort of like put his foot in, as Joe did. Tough player, and there was a big fracas, and everybody was round, and it all got sorted out and settled down, and then it was a good night.
Wonderful night,
yeah.
So I was going to say, then on to the semi-final. 2 legs, of course, in the semi-final. So what do you remember the first leg?
First leg, I remember we going up there, and we sort of we going to the ground, and it was obviously for us a big night, and full house at the City Ground. And what I remember, we left the hotel and we were going to Nottingham, and we couldn't get off the motorway. We could see the ground, and we kept going over this bridge over the Trent, and then we go one way and come back the other way, and Stuart, the driver. And then we ended up, and I think it was a good thing in the end, because we ended up getting to the game late, and we were getting changed on the coach. We sort of we had everything on the strip apart from the boots, right? Getting off the coach into the dressing room, hanging your stuff up on the pegs, putting your boots on, and out on the pitch. And the game started. You know, I mean, in them days, it was like you didn't have the warm-ups like they have now, where they go out like 40 minutes before the game and warm up for half an hour. It was usually go out for 10 minutes, warm up, and then you start the game. Yeah. So it was I think that worked in our favour a little bit. And on the night, obviously, another game where we sort of, Keith Wolf had another great game, and we defended well again, and then we got the goal. We got the goal at probably 20-25 minutes from the end, and sort of I crossed it, and it sort of missed a few people, and I think Joe laid it back for Paul Madden, who hit the shot, and just it flew in the corner, and we thought, well, we've got the goal, can we hang on? But unfortunately they scored about 5 minutes from the end, and it was an own goal. John Pender, obviously cross came in, he tried to sort of put his foot to divert it for a corner, but sort of nestled in the bottom corner.
Well,
a draw was a great result.
It was. Well, I was going to say we should say for younger viewers watching this that it wasn't like playing Nottingham Forest now, with all due respect to them, was it? They were the power in the country. There was an amazing performance to hold them to a draw at the City Ground, wasn't it? And bring them back to Ashton Gate with the hope of getting to Wembley.
It was, because they were in the. I mean, they had a team full of internationals, and they were. I think obviously the Old First Division. They were. I think they were in the top 3 of the Old First Division at that stage, and put a few in that competition, and put a few teams to the sword, I think, and
put 10 past somebody, I think.
I think
sure, they certainly hit 10 against some team really well. They were, as Nigel says, the power in the land. So we'll go in there. I think I'm right in saying that the TV didn't even agree necessary to screen the second leg, because they thought it'd be a foregone conclusion until you'd actually gone and drawn it.
Yeah, well, the other semi-final I think was Luton and West Ham. And Luton had sort of won about 3-0 or something like that. So on the next game, like you said, the TV decided to screen ours live, but obviously because the game was closer. And then the game at Ashton Gate a couple of weeks later, and
the weather was terrible, wasn't it, that day?
The weather was
absolutely shocking. I remember getting soaking wet walking to the ground, because the car parking around Ashton Gate was terrible. They put cones everywhere where everybody used to park, so everybody turned up and thought where they went normally parked and they couldn't. And so I do remember that. It was all heavy clouds, lashing rain. It was horrible.
It was, and it was cold as well, really cold. And
were you pleased about that? Because obviously you wanted to bring them down to the
the pitch was heavy, and it was raining, it was windy, it was cold, and it was a bit of a leveller. And obviously Joe sort of tactically over the 2 legs. Obviously we went away to defend and maybe nick a goal, and at home we played the same way. Just unfortunately we didn't get the goal. We had a good chance. I don't know. We hit the post. Yeah, I don't remember.
Well, it wasn't a miss. It was a great effort.
Well, it was effort. I mean, and but then again, they had the majority of the play again on the day, but we defended well again. We defended greatly.
Right, give us your explanation one more time. How on earth did you miss that chance to hit the post?
Well. It was Stephen McLaren took the corner and sort of jump ender flicked it on, and sort of I was going in to sort of meet the cross, but it went behind me round about the penalty spot. So I was facing our goal really, and sort of just turned and hit it. And there was obviously players in between the shot and the goal, and sort of I had a good sight of it, and it sort of missed it. I think it went through somebody's legs, and it sort of hit the post and come back. And the keeper was looking. The keeper couldn't see where it had gone. And I think Rob Newman was coming in to try and get the rebound and put it in the back of the net. Unfortunately, their player got there and just sort of kicked it out for a corner. We took the corner, right corner, put it straight in the goalkeeper's hands. He threw it out to Franz Carr, who just went straight up the pitch. As fast as he could with the ball, and we were all chasing and crossed the ball. And I think Neil Webb, headed it, and he headed it straight into Keith Waff's hands, and the referee blew his whistle.
That's how the game ended. Extra time.
And then
in extra time, Gary Parker got the goal. I suppose over the 2 legs, you'd have to say they deserved it, but you put in such a heroic effort, it must have been devastating.
It was, I think that the replay was going to be at Villa Park, and we were thinking, we're going to have another game at Villa Park. And then that same year, I think we'd played in the FA Cup, we'd played Aldershot 4 times to get through, and I think it was the second round. We played them for there was no penalties in them days.
Alan Walsh there, and as he correctly says, there were no penalties in those days. We've come to, in a way, grow and love penalty shootouts, a bit of a drama, but those cup ties against Forest were particularly dramatic, weren't they?
Yeah, I wish they'd won after just 90 minutes at Ashton Gate. It would have given City probably a 50-50 chance. There's some good strikers of the ball in those days, but overall, Forest were the better team. They were Alan first to admit that, and Gary Parker scored the winner, and it was a deserved win for Nottingham Forest, but it's very, very close. And I always tell people my main memory was Brian Clough sweeping into Joe Jordan's office while we were having our press conference in Joe's office afterwards, and throwing his arm around Joe and giving him a big kiss. Brian Clough was wearing a cape and looked every bit the part of the character he was, and Joe just stood there, and I think we all just went silent as Brian flies the kiss. I mean, Joe, one of the hard men in the game. And Brian's the kiss on his cheek and said, "Bad luck, big man," and all that, and was very gracious, and then swept out again, leaving us all, goggle-eyed. Alan Walsh, one of my favourite City players on and off the field, wonderful, wonderful guy. Pleasure to know him. He lives in Portishead, not far from me, and of course had the wonderful distinction of being Kelsey Grammer's father-in-law, because his daughter Kate married the famous American actor, so that changed life for Alan and Sue. They now jet off to the States every now and again at Kelsey's expense and have a great time over there. So couldn't happen to a nicer couple. Alan's a great lad.
Yeah, but his claim to fame might not have been Kelsey Grammer. It might have been getting City to Wembley. But hey ho, that's the way of football. We've enjoyed hearing from Josser and from Alan Walsh. Now, as we promised at the start of the programme, let's just finish off and reflect on Glenn Catley, one of, again, sports gentlemen. He picked up the phone to me and said, "Hello, Nigel, how are you?" And I said, "Congratulations, happy anniversary," and everything. Of course, he was the underdog 20 years ago. He won the WBC super middleweight title in Germany, in Frankfurt, and as Chris Saniger said to him at the time, you never expect anything from the judges out there. But he finished off Marcus Bayer in the final round. But I think we'll just pick up the story, as Glenn told me earlier in the week, of that fight in Frankfurt.
From back, Catley limped Frey, and it was pretty close on the judges' scorecards, and as I understand it was pretty even. And Chris Saniger looked up and just sat down on the stool. He said, "Listen, Glenn, we're in Germany. We ain't going to get any favours from the judges. This is the 12th. This is the final round. This is your last chance to ever become a world champion. If you want to win this fight," his words were, "go out there for the 12th, for the final round. Forget your boxing. Have a fight like you're on the street. Don't stop throwing punches. Don't just have a fight. Don't." And you can imagine Chris.
I can just hear him saying that. Yeah.
"Don't stop throwing punches." Now, I remember standing up, Nigel, going out, touching gloves with Bayer, again, as you're obliged to do, and walking back to my corner, looking at Bayer the opposite side of the ring, and all these thoughts, literally within a fraction of a second, but thinking to myself, when this round's finished, I'm going to have to be carried out of the ring, either because I've been knocked out trying, or because I've used every last cell of energy within my body. And thankfully, I should have had these thoughts perhaps in the first or second round, because within about 15 or 20 seconds, boom, I caught Marcus Bayer with a thunderous left hook, right hand. He went down, and that was the beginning of the end, as they say. And I thought then, listen, it's early on in the round, keep throwing, don't let him off, don't let him recover, little taps. Thankfully, within about 15, 16, 17 seconds, the referee gave him every opportunity to come back. But the fight was stopped, and I was declared the new world champion.
Glenn Catley, congratulations to him, and he did say to me that it's a shame that because of the lockdown all the pubs are closed at the moment, but he was giving a warning to all the local landlords that he's expecting a free pint in celebration of his 20th anniversary coming up. And he does also tell me that he's got a book coming out when he's going to tell all that story, and also how he went on controversially to lose the title in latter years. But that's to come. He's going to be an author, and of course you're an author, Richard, and you've actually managed to plug about your great book about City when they did get to Wembley, and I'm sure you just want to tell people about it now, don't you? Yeah, Wembley Wonders. You just happen to have a copy. Amazing.
Just happen to have a copy to hand. Just one of the very few left. Now available for just £10 by going to the official website of the book, which is www.wembleywonders.co.uk. And if you're lucky enough to live in Portishead, the beautiful Portishead where I live, you can get delivery free, because my family will be out and about delivering the book. And we can't go further afield than that at the moment, but it's £10 plus postage if you live in Bristol or anywhere else, but just £10 now without postage if you live in Portishead. And so there aren't that many left, but I thought this might be a time when people, of course, need something to do. What a good read. Hopefully that's a good read.
Yeah. The only problem with that book is that you didn't mention me in it at all. But looking at your website, I do see in the pictures of the book launch at Ashton Gate, I appear several times. So
I'm not sure if that's reduced sales.
I think that's enough reason to go to wembleywonders.co.uk to have a look at me on that book launch. Richard, as ever, it's been fun chatting. We'll have some more Old City and Rovers interviews for next week. We've got to decide who we're going to pick out. So I hope you'll join us for that. And Richard, we hope you have a safe week in lockdown, and I'll talk to you in 7 days' time.
Yeah, let's hope we're seeing a bit of light at the end of the tunnel now, and we will be getting back to normal before too long.
Fingers crossed. Yeah, okay. So from Subs Bench for this week, thanks for watching on Facebook and YouTube. Don't forget to drop us a line if you want to give yourself a mention or anything else that's coming up. The email address is on the screen now, and we'll see you next week. Cheerio.